No, I've been asking, almost begging for a real grudge match in the UFC. Bilal Muhammad versus Kamaru Usman. Hamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa. Something, but we finally have it. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. UFC cutter. This is going to be an absolute banger. These guys don't like each other. You could tell by Dan Hooker's tweet right up there. I'll cave his head in. Alright, Dan Hooker's locked and loaded. He's ready to go. These dudes have been talking shit about each other for about a year and a half now. Ever since Arman decided, even before Arman pulled out of that main event with Islam Makhachev, Dan Hooker's been on his ass. I have endless, literally endless pictures and references of these dudes just talking shit against each other. This fight week is going to get intense. This fight week is going to get intense. It's already ramping up, and this fight is, what, a month and a half away? But this is back when when Dan Hooker had to pull out against Justin Gaethje. He tweets out, "I broke my hand preparing for a fight. You hurt your back creeping on Nina Drama." Very true, very true. There's endless tweets about these guys going back and forth. So this fight has been in the making. It's been called for by the universe to make this fight happen, all right? Multiple. Well, I could just pull a bunch. I just pulled the best ones up. Arman Tsarukyan saying karma doesn't miss. Big mouth, glass hands. Maybe just stick to talking instead of fighting. At Dan the Hooker. At Dan the Hooker. At Dan the Hangman. Not Dan the Hooker. Dan the Hangman Hooker says, if only your dad pulled out quicker than your last fight. Glass hand, haha, glass house. Dan, hey. Dan is rattling off 10 out of 10 absolute bangers from all the way down under. From all the way down under, my boy is tweeting out bangers while Arman is chilling in his Bugatti somewhere. You know what I mean? But these dudes have been going on Ariel Helwani, talking some real serious trash, all right? Arman Tsarukyan's playing a little bit of mind games, and Dan Hooker's just, hey, frontal assault, you know what I mean? If you guys couldn't tell, Dan Hooker is obviously going to be the underdog. I think that's a little bit criminal. I think this should be a little bit of even money if you ask me. We haven't seen Arman in 2 years. Who knows how long, you know what I mean? How long it takes for your MMA skills to deteriorate. All right, we've seen Michael Chandler coming off of a long layoff like that. We've seen multiple people coming off of long layoffs like that and getting absolutely decimated. Absolutely decimated. But let's play this clip of cross-eyed Arman sitting somewhere, probably eating a croissant on the Ariel Helwani show.
What should I say to him?
Not a thought, by the way. We're 7 seconds in, and he spoke like 2 words. Not a thought behind those crossed eyes, by the way.
Nothing. Just train. Tell him to train how to defense wrestling.
Okay.
Because I'm just gonna wrestle 25 minutes.
All right. Well, that's different than the knockout prediction of a minute ago.
No. You never know. You know, I'm like tricky.
Sure.
Show wrestling in my punch.
You're right.
Arman Tsarukyan, by the way, was in the corner for Hamzat Chimaev versus DDP with an absolute dominant performance by Hamzat Chimaev. So that's a real threat. Saying, hey, tell him to defend wrestling. All right, it's going to be a beat. These dudes don't like each other. All right, so getting put in a crucifix by somebody you don't like is going to be a real problem for you. It'd be a real problem for me. It would be a real problem for anybody. Now, Dan Hooker, I have 2 clips. There's a bunch of clips, but there's one I couldn't find. Dan Hooker saying, and I thought this was really interesting. Dan Hooker saying, you know, I needed a fight to get me out of bed. That Justin Gaethje fight didn't even get me out of bed. Now this, I wake up early for this fight. I thought that was really interesting. You know, Dan Hooker seems like he's been wanting this fight for a long time, boys. I am going Dan Hooker on the under dizzy. On the under dizzy, he has more octagon experience than Arman Tsarukyan, all right? Maybe he doesn't have the wrestling credentials that Arman Tsarukyan has, but I'm telling you right now that Dan Hooker has some serious percentage chance of getting this shit done. Let's play this first clip by Dan Hooker.
I asked him about this potential interaction and the relationship between you two. Here's what he had to say. I'd love for you to hear it and maybe respond.
He's gonna talk a lot, but a lot of brothers coming, and hopefully he's gonna they gonna stop me, you know.
Oh my.
And yeah, I shouldn't do some crazy things. I just gotta be focused because I'm gonna have 25 minutes.
Arman comes off as like a child trying to like gloat, you know what I mean? Like, oh well, you know, I have 5 cookies in my room. I have a TV in my room, by the way. Mom lets me stay up till 8. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I wake up in the morning so tired, bro.
To beat his ass. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's gonna have 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wants, we can fight, and after fight we can fight again,
What?
but not
Okay.
before.
So he says a lot of brothers are coming.
Ooh,
I would have been like, I don't give a fuck.
fuck. I've never been jumped before.
Right. Right.
But who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I've had my ass beat more times than you've had hot dinners, brother. You think
I've had my ass beat more times than you have hot dinners. That's a line. That's a line coming from Dan Hooker right there.
that scares me in any way, shape, or form? You're off your head.
You got some pretty tough brothers on your side as well, just for the
I
record.
got some pretty tough brothers, but I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy, brother. I'm not that guy. I've heard him as well. I'm not that guy. I don't go get no one in
Savage. King Vaughn of Australia, by the way.
my life. You beat me up, I'm not gonna go get anyone else to come and sort it out. I'm not gonna hide behind anyone. I don't need brothers. I have brothers, but I'm not that guy. I don't go and get people. If I got a problem with someone, I'll come around your house and sort it out myself.
Whoa. Whoa. You heard that? You heard that, Armand? Better close the gate. Better close the gate and hire more security with the dogs. Okay, have the dogs, the guy walking around with the dogs for the armed security. We need 3 of them looping 24/7. Okay, in slated time shifts. Okay, so we're never alone. That you heard what Dan Hooker just said, right? Dan Hooker's in the warrior mindset, boys. I have one more clip to play for you guys.
When you were thinking, okay, I'm going to come back, end of the year, all this stuff, was Armand someone that you thought was going to be offered? Was he on your radar? Obviously, we know about the back and forth between you guys, but did you think he would be offered ultimately, or did you think they would offer someone else?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the fight. I know that he was offered Gamrot, who he's lost to, and he turned that fight down.
Facts. Facts. Dan Hooker's spitting Fendi facts right now. Dan Hooker is really knowing ball. My boy knows ball. He knows what he's talking about. Armand Sarukian got shown levels on the ground by Marticios Gamrot. Okay, I'm still saying that. I was heavy on Marticios Gamrot going into that Charles Oliveira fight, and big whoop-de-doo. Charles did my boy in, but Armand got shown levels by Marticios Gamrot. All right, and you didn't want to run that fade back. Why not? That's a little questionable. You know, everybody wants to do the Sean O'Malley. Hey, you got me one time. Let me answer all questions and finish you quicker than it was a split decision. It was a split decision loss for Armand Sarukian, but let me finish you. Let's not even get the judges involved, honestly, is what I'm saying. They would want the rematch. Sean O'Malley did it. A bunch of people want the rematch if they lose. You know what I mean? For some weird reason, Armand, who hasn't been in the octagon for 600 days, says, no, I don't want that fight.
And Gamrot's like obviously someone just ranked outside of me and someone that I've beaten. So I knew between he didn't want to fight Gamrot because Gamrot was ranked so low and coming off a loss. And so I knew that between me and Armand Sarukian, that absolutely no one wants to fight the guy. I know that no one wants to take that risk. I knew that some of the bigger name guys, because now they have a reason to avoid him as well. Like everyone does have a reason to avoid him with the weight miss and things like that.
With the weight miss, by the way. Everybody referring to the Armand Sarukian scandal of him pulling out of that fight against Islam Makhachev refers it to a weight miss, not an injury. Very interesting, by the way. So did Dana White, referred it to as a weight miss, okay? You cannot keep these things covered up for that long, all right, Armand? You couldn't make weight. You're out there hanging out with Nina Drama, not eating Dave's hot chicken, not making weight and shit.
There'll be a lot of, now the champion has an excuse to not fight the guy. And a legitimate excuse in that the UFC and you put so much time into something and then a guy pulls out. at the weight cut is a legitimate excuse for a champion in the
Do
UFC.
you see how Dan Hooker can string these sentences together with like very little issues? Arman would have trouble reading a fucking Dr. Seuss book, bro. He would.
To not put you into a big fight. I knew that he had to fight to get back into title contention. So I knew that this fight, I would be the only person that would want the most difficult fight. I don't discredit the other guys for picking their battles and trying to find the most least path of resistance, but that's just not the way that I do things. I think that he's the toughest test. I think he's the best fighter in the division, and so that's the way that I want to go. I want to go the hardest way.
Absolute animal. Absolute animal coming from Dan Hooker. Now, Dan Hooker is very highly recommended for me. I hold Dan Hooker in high regards. It's a 5-round fight, boys. Arman Tsarukyan coming off of a loss? Oh, obviously, a win. My bad. Very sorry. A win against Charles Oliveira. Split decision win against Charles Oliveira all the way in 2024. Bro hasn't fought for almost 2 years. Congratulations, you choked out 3 40-year-olds back to back to back. You know what I mean? Now, Dan Hooker, they need to upgrade my boy's Tapology page, all right? He looks like a noodle, you know what I mean? Like a spaghetti noodle just hanging out in there. He's won 3 in a row after losing to Arnold Allen. Hey, shout out to Arnold Allen. We keep Arnold Allen in mega high regards down here, but look at his last 2 losses, right? Islam Makhachev, which is like, all right, you can't really hold that against, bro, and Arnold Allen, which I know Arnold Allen is a actual animal. Keep away from Arnold Allen. Beat up Claudio, which is like Jalen Turner, which that fight was an absolute banger. I think that was UFC 299. UFC 290. I thought that was on 300 for whatever reason. And then goes out there and beats Mauricio Gamrot split. I had Dan Hooker winning that. I did. Look, Dan Hooker beat up Mauricio Gamrot, and Arman could not. Very simple here, boys. I am ready for this grudge match. All right? Dan Hooker, being the underdog, smells perfect to me. I'll see you guys later. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.